And my story begins in the year 1961. I'm 3, going on 4. And my mother divorces my father and decides to enroll at Del Mar College, where she's going to get a vocational nursing degree, which means she's going to leave me with her parents because she has to be commuting from the little bitty South Texas town in Duval County to Corpus Christi, so that means I don't see her all week, and then she comes home on the weekends. Well, I should say, where's Daniel? That was the wound that actually gave me the biggest gift, because I learned the art of acting. Yes, let that in for a second. The art of acting. My grandfather would love to tell the story till almost the end of his life. Amparito, play Miss Mamie, mija. Do Miss Mamie. I was 3 years old, apparently a great impersonator. Miss Mamie was the 60-year-old elementary school principal, and I would rock it, okay? And then he'd say, Amparito, play Father Epi, Castilian priest from Spain. And apparently my little 3 going on 4-year-old could rock it. Then he would say, Amparito, play Chubby Checker. And because I had seen Chubby Checker in American Bandstand and was blown completely away. So my 3-year-old version of Chubby Checker was more like James Brown doing Chubby Checker. I mean, I would tear up the stage, and he would have me do this in front of big, you know, the Mexican family get-togethers. No, hombre, I didn't have a microphone, I needed one, okay? But he would take a collection up for me, and so I would end up with pennies and nickels, and boys, that's a lot of money in 1961. Well, that's when I fell in love with my life calling, because it didn't matter what my age was. I could play it. It didn't matter what my gender was. I could play it. And it didn't matter what race I was, because I could do an African-American man like cutting the rug like no other. That spirit of adventure and courage and the sky's the limit stayed with me all until I got to UT in 1976, and I still believe that the sky was the limit for me, and I quickly became one of the top actors in a very big department. I was a handful of the actor that would get the lead or the supporting lead, and it was either me or Marcia Gay Harden, and those of you might know her, she went on to win the Academy Award, right? So either she would get it or I would get it. But there was a big difference. Not yet, because in college, there wasn't those issues. You know, you could play anything. But for me, I got so confident about it that when, the following year when I graduated and went to New York City, as all theater artists do, I have my first meeting with the agent, and of course I'm very impressed with myself, and very impressed with my resume, and she is too, actually. She's, impressed. But then she says very straightforwardly, my dear, you're not going to work. Excuse me? Hey, did you look at my resume? She's like, yeah, but you're not going to work because you're too exotic. I hadn't quite heard that before, and what she was really meaning in the nicest way was, you're a woman of color, no parts are written for women of color that are leads or supporting leads, so really we're not going to make a lot of money sending you out, because if the best you're going to do is probably play a day player part. Day player parts, by the way, for those of you that may not know the lingo in film and television, are literally day player parts. You come in, they don't have names, they're usually defined by the work they do in the world, like the assistant to the director, or, the dental hygienist, #1, or, whatever. And if you're Latina, it was more narrow than that. It was either prostitute #2, or maid #1, or maybe like weeks and months and years would go by, the the nurse's assistant. Well, I just decided I'm not going to believe that. I'm going to go for it. But this woman knew her business. She was exactly correct. My friend Marcia landed in New York, and she immediately started reading leads and supporting leads. And it's easy to get an Academy Award if you're reading leads and supporting leads. But if you're doing the tape player part, they're basically saying, do you want milk in your coffee? Who's going to give you an Academy Award for that? Right? So I did not give up, though. I got more determined and more disappointed, and in some ways more humiliated. About, I guess I'm in my late 20s, I get an opportunity. I get cast as maid number 1. But she actually has a name, which is another hierarchy in film land. If you have a name, you're featured. And that means you're a different pay scale. And if you have a second name, woo, you're competing for the lead or supporting leads, right? So she had a name, her name was Cassie, and I got it for 2 weeks. Now, when you work 2 weeks, this was a film for NBC Movie of the Week, and when you work 2 weeks, you get insurance for the year, and I literally made enough money in those 2 weeks that I would normally make in a year. So, okay, I'll do the maid, okay. Cassie, and I said, well, I remember arguing with my agent, I said, Cassie doesn't sound Mexican, so can I be Texan like everybody else? And they're like, sure, Ampy, just go for it. So I did, but here's what happened on the set. We were shooting in Johnson City somewhere, it's a very rich, it was a historic story about a Texas millionaire who murders his wife. And so we're in Johnson City in some very fancy house, and the owner is very proud, Texan, you know, because he gets to be around big name stars, and he's, you know, he notices that I've got my little starched maid outfit, and apparently it attracted some fetish in him or something. I'm in my late 20s, and so I'm waiting for my scene because I want to watch the big name actors. I want to watch their processes. You know, I'm a student of acting. I want to see how they do it, basically. But this man, I'm in the side room waiting for them to call my name, and he basically corners me. And he starts hitting up on me, and I'm like, at first I thought it was a joke. I mean, his wife is like upstairs. And luckily I hear the AD going, okay, Cassie, we're ready for your shot. And it's like, the next day it gets a little worse. The wife is on set. Oh, and she's so interested and just so fascinated by all the big stars, you know. And she's standing there by me in my little starched outfit, and she turns to me and she says, you know, we just lost our maid. Do you cook? So I look at her and I go, I can act like I cook. And here's the thing, is that I finally understood what happened to the other maid, bless her heart. Why she probably quit, you know, if this guy's chasing her around the pool table. Well, it only gets worse. Soon after, I get a call to audition for the Mexican whore. Moving up. The Mexican whore it's at the brothel. But you know, it's July 4th with Tom Cruise, and I get to be in bed with Tom Cruise, right? So I'm thinking, well, I mean, I want to work, okay? I'm trying to be a professional. And if I have to play a whore, you know, that's not so... I had just had a baby, and I actually had very beautiful breasts, and I was going to have to flip one out, and I thought, publish them, you know? They will live forever. Okay. So I actually get the call back, and when you get a call back, you meet the director and you meet the producer, so that alone was awesome. I get to have a great conversation with Oliver Stone, and everything goes very well, but another lovely actress from Los Angeles who I admired very much, great theater actress, got the part. And so the casting director, he's a friend, so I said, so can you give me some feedback? Because it was such a, you know, we had a great experience in the audition. Why didn't I get the part? And he says, well, Effie, they really liked what you did and all that, but you know, the only comment I heard was that you have an Anglo nose. What? I have an Anglo nose? Because that's what they said. Pues mira, why doesn't that help me for the white parts? You know? Like, oh, when it's the lead character, surely she has an Anglo nose, pero no. It only gets worse. 10 years later, I'm still doing this crazy dance. But I do it because if you work a certain amount, you get free insurance. And it's the best insurance in the world with SAG, right? Well, I finally get it. That turning point that we've all been talking about. I'm living in Los Angeles, and the Screen Actors Guild women, because they've all become feminists and they've become awake in consciousness, and the Meryl Streeps of the world are pissed off because they're not making as much money as the Jack Nicholsons of the world, so they put up a big stink with the union, and the union does a study. They take every character that's been on TV in 1991, they break it down by race, age, culture, ethnicity, job, what are they doing, and then they publish it in the LA Times. Well, I was fascinated as a scholar to quickly scan everything and look for Hispanic, because that's what we were called then, right? Hispanic, oh, there we are. Well, there it was. We are represented 1% of the time. This is 1991. And when I kept studying and looking at the numbers, we were equal to extraterrestrials. Well, it was an identity crisis for me because there it was clearly, but thankfully I was getting directing work and doing some directing, and I had just won a very prestigious national award. They only give 5 in the nation to support early career directors, and so that put me in LA, Chicago, New York. I mean, I got to meet all of my theatrical heroes and work with them, and so I started to feel like, well, you know, I can still do this thing somehow. And thank God I met my mentor. And she was just there to work with the directors, like kind of like as a sidekick, as she was writing something. She was a Cuban, amazing visionary, Irene Fornes. And she puts the little idea in my head like, Amparo, well, see, they're not writing you the parts you want, why don't you write them yourself? Hadn't thought about that, so I don't have to whine and be the victim and yada, yada, yada. So I did exactly that. Now, if I had been the happy little actress, I would have never gotten to the writing. Well, I'm happy to report that I created enough work that when the James Michener Fellowships opened up in Austin, Texas, and I wanted to come back to Austin because I had a small child at that point, I applied with my new treasury of work and I got accepted. And I got to be in the first class and actually work with James Michener. He was still alive. And so what an extraordinary experience and turnaround that was for me. And at that point, I wrote a piece called La Mujer Moderna. And I entered it in a national contest called the Mae West Fest. And I won the Best Female Protagonist Award nationally for the Best Female Lead Character Written. And she was Latina, la la la. So I got, you know, I thought, okay, things are looking up, they're looking up. Well, they do, as the writer, to be quite honest. But just as we're coming to the close of this evening, I want to kind of give you a temperature reading about where we are with all this, because I continue to be fascinated by the ridiculously of mass media and how they represent particularly minorities, right? So recently, I mean 3-4 years ago, I get a call from a casting director that I really adore, and she adores me, you know, and she's well-meaning, and she calls me in for a Robert Rodriguez film, and I know why she wants me to read this part, because she knows I can make things funny that are not funny naturally. Like I always get a chuckle out of her, and it's always a good sign when the director guffaws, because, you know, and maybe it's not the way the part is written, but it's the way the little Amparito likes to do it, right? So I got why she wanted me to read this, but I call my agent up and I go, wait. Did you guys read the breakdown carefully? It says Lily, late 40s or early 50s, which I was at the time. It says white maid. Robert Rodriguez is using Latino leads and he's writing a white maid feature card, but white made for a reason. He's reversing these ideas. Why are you wanting to read me for a white maid when it's a white wife of the president or the white wife of the girl next, guy next door, whatever? Pues I'm not white enough then. Well, since then they've gotten they get very apologetic when I get a call. I actually got a call for a 55-year-old prostitute a couple of years ago, and I thought, now it's flattering. As I get older, it's like, really? You want me to do that? Okay. Well, it was a scene with Robert Duvall, so I considered it, right? But what I'm saying is it gets equally crazy and ridiculous. But here's the happy ending as we come to the ending of the evening. A couple months ago. ¿Qué pasó? Hello? Do I have to project?
Yes.
No. Let's take a little moment. I think the battery went out. Josh is coming. Let's give him a hand when he does, okay?
Thank you, Josh.
Microphone number 2.
So a couple of months ago, this is what sides look like when you get them and you have to sign your life away, particularly if it's a show or a pilot that's on the air as we speak. And I don't think they're going to sue me on this one. You better not tell them that I'm telling you. Okay. So, you know that TV show Graves, right, with Nick Nolte, right? He's playing the President of the United States. Has anybody seen it? It's pretty popular. No, awesome. You guys have lives. I love that. So why aren't you telling us stories? What I want to know. So it's a pretty popular show. Graves is playing an ex-president. And it's very greatly satirical and hard-hitting about the ridiculousness of all the things we've been talking about that are Republican and white and narrow, right? Well, I get a call to read for Lucia. And she has a last name, so I already know this is good. And it's a recurring part, which is awesome. And it's shooting in Santa Fe. And it reads, she opens the fridge door, she's in her 50s, she's witty and bright. And Lucia has seen and done it all. Smarter than most. She closes the door as Maggie blasts in with Isaiah and Katie. This is the first time I have ever read a description for a maid. And when I looked at all the scenes, she was so amazing character because she was the smartest person in the house. And I thought, it took 30 years to get conscious with this kind of character. Isn't that amazingly great? And I was very proud of my audition. I'm not sure where this role has gone, and maybe if it's even cast or whether they are going to not. She's so smart, they're going to probably write her out of the show. But this makes me very happy because whatever Latino actress gets this, it's a step in the right direction, and I'm just thrilled. And so let's just send good vibes and good energy for this, right? But to end where I started, why I'm taking a sabbatical for a few months, even from the living room, is that I'm going to be producing one of my musical pieces, Strip, which is a theatrical musical theater piece, and the byline is Sex, Drugs, and Persecution. It takes place in the burlesque world. And I want you to know that my 3-year-old is thrilled. And you know why? Because this is a piece in which men play women, and women play men. This is a piece where Mexicanos play New York Jewish comedians. This is a piece where the sky is the limit. I have a J.C. Tootin character, which is Jesus Christ herself, as an aerialist up in the air, doing these amazing things because the sky is the limit. Storytellers. para acá, come stand with me, we'll take a little bow. Por favor. Josh, you might turn the lights on. And if somebody doesn't mind taking a picture, yes. Yes, because and sending it to me so that I can publish this wonderful group of people.
I would really appreciate it. Yes. Wherever you want. Now, if there's before we take a sweet little bow. Oh, look at all those pictures! Oh my God! It's incredible. I really want to thank you for being here this evening. I want to thank these amazing storytellers. I want to thank the Mexican American Cultural Center, all of you that donated to make this possible. Thank you so much. And is there any questions before we send you off for any of the storytelling? ¿Qué pasó? Oh, thank you. Yes.
It's on the stand after.
This little piece of paper is very important because remember I was the original inaugural director of this building. We're going to celebrate the 10-year opening. Can you believe it? It's extraordinary. This helps the city to know that you appreciate what's going on here. So just taking that extra moment to let them know that they've done good to create this space is very helpful, and it helps everyone that works here still. And I'm thrilled that everybody that I hired as the inaugural director is still here. Not me, because, you know, I'm busy and need to do other things, you know, my maid and prostitute roles. So that's it. Let's take it back. All right. Yes, sir.
The survey is at the front desk.
Thank you. And then we'll have Adrián tell you about the show so you come and support him. Thank you so much.
I'm going to be doing the full show that monologue is part of here, the September 8th through 10th at the Black Box Theater, and it'll be the week before the 10th anniversary of the MAC, which is really special to me too, because me and Amparo worked together to put together the first theatrical performance that was done here in this room.
With no budget.
No, a Mexican budget. But anyway, so look up the LatinoComedyProject.com or look up the Latino Comedy Project on Facebook, and I'll be promoting that show starting in a couple of weeks. So that's it. Thank you.
Because I need to read my camera so that I can actually do it. You guys, you can take one more picture. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you guys August 15th, I think it's the date, mid-month.
I think August 19th.
Oh, the 19th. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, I know. Thank you so much. Have a good night, you guys.